Over to you, Dinesh.
And Dinesh,
Thank you. Let me know if you're able to see a screen.
Yes. Well, I was.
Okay, we'll get there.
So while Dinesh is doing that, let's throw up one quick other poll. I'll do this very quickly for time's sake. So I wanted to kind of get a gauge for, let me see, launch poll. For, so as we talked about before, sales in your marketing, or tools in your marketing process, how many of those tools do you guys currently use? Is it CRM only? Do you got, or ERP only, or do you have other tools that you're integrating with that? How many does that kind of fall into? And I'll give everybody just literally probably about 30 seconds because I think this is an easy one, and then we'll wrap this poll up. Just gives us a good gauge on what part integration really plays in this. All right, let's wrap that one up. Let me see. Yeah, and that's kind of what I thought. 2 to 5 would have been what I thought as well. But definitely, definitely, it's either going to be you're living in your ERP system, your whatever your source system is, or CRM, or you're going to have a number of these that are integrated with it. So kind of what I thought. We've got some others, but for sake of time, Dinesh, I'm going to let you go ahead and run yours, and then we'll see how much time we have at the end to kind of go through some more of these to kind of get feedback on it. And Dinesh, I don't see your, there we go. Okay, there we go. Perfect.
I'm trying to get to see my own screen. I guess you're seeing it, but I'm not.
Yeah, we see.
You're seeing the.
Yeah.
Okay, this never happens, right? I'm not seeing my own screen. I'm seeing just the camera portions of this. My apologies. And let's see.
Well, that's why he's kind of working through that. We'll do one more poll here really quick. So again, I'm curious again because a lot of stuff that what you guys have seen from Aiden was kind of in the data science and machine learning type of segment. So how many of you guys are using this type of stuff to segment, predict, or do things on the marketing side of things to kind of see what's coming or prescribe things like next best product, those type of things, segmentations, those type of things, and we can give you again another few seconds at all. Yeah, and then kind of close that one up. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're closing, and then share results. Okay, none at all, but like to. Yeah, again, we see that a lot. I don't know that we really, again, this kind of is indicative of our conversations. I don't know that anybody's not using it, but doesn't, it's not at least interested in it or experimenting with it. So this is right on. Perfect. Okay, Dinesh.
Okay.
I see your screen.
Oh, you do? Okay. So, but you did something there, and then I lost my screen again. I was seeing it up until now.
So I messed you up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So I see application strategy. I see your mark. I see your slide.
Can you take over, and then I'll try to take over again? My apologies.
Yep. Nope. No worries.
Can you take a screen, and then I'll try to take it from you? Okay.
I see your screen again, Dinesh.
For some reason, I'm not. Okay, how about now?
You may try to Alt Tab and see if you can find.
I can see it now. Yeah, I can see it now.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Finally, we're here. So, we listen to kind of Aiden build his models out, go through the process of really preparing your data and using data science, machine language processes for applications. The end result of this can actually find its way into an application for your marketing analytics. So what I want to talk about here is a segue into what can your applications look like. So through our experiences, through our implementation processes, I want to show you some applications that we've built with the IBI stack. And also mainly, if you're considering building an application, the temptation is really to look at least I'll speak for a majority of the use cases, is to go to a dashboard type application. should you be doing that? When should you put certain tools? And by tools, I mean, a dashboard type application or a self-service type application. What are some of the prerequisites that will drive you towards those decisions? So I want to talk about some of that. And from an application stewardship standpoint, there's also the navigation of information through your tabs, through your application itself, that will determine what type of application you're building. And finally, also we'll show you some of these applications that look what these look like in their finished state. And so the idea on that is to give you some ideas for what kind of applications you can build, what is the process, who's going to be building them, which ones, where should I retain ownership. In some cases, you want to be retaining ownership of the data. In some other cases, you want to be retaining ownership of the applications. What are the pros and cons of both approaches is kind of what I want to take you through today. Okay. The first the application I want to talk about is a visual application. So when do you use a dashboard? So the most typical representation of a visual application is a dashboard, but there are other types of visual applications as well. So when do you think about an application like that? Is when the questions that you ask are the same over time or very similar over time. The aggregation levels of the metrics can be predefined. What I mean by that is, you have your year to month to a date, whatnot, a particular week, whatnot. So the questions that you're asking are, how did my marketing team do? How many campaigns did we run? What were the success rate of these campaigns and things like that? And you want to see them at the same levels of aggregation from time to time. Now, keep in mind that you can actually use filters that are truly global. I'll kind of give you an idea of what we've built so that you have that as a picture. But the filters, as long as they're truly global, you can continue to ask these questions and you can continue to consume that information as long as the metrics don't require heavy parameterization. So what does that mean? If you're not trying to enter 15 different parameters just to get to one little piece of information, that is a completely different use case. So, as long as the aggregation levels can be predefined, and as long as the KPIs or the questions that you ask do not change significantly over time, the visual application is a very good use case. Now, how do you build a visual application? I'll take WebFOCUS as an example. The designer framework can be used very simply to drag and drop interface, build out an application. But as long as your design is robust, this is still a developer built application. And the customizations for what you want to see and how you want to see it, where the data comes from, and even incorporating the data science models that Aidan was talking about can all be done fairly straightforward. So this is an example of a dashboard or a visual application, a pretty simple dashboard that we built out for a client of ours. It shows metrics like average customer lifetime value, total marketing spend, product sales by marketing spend, whatnot. And then this gives you an idea for the CMO or the marketing management group, really to see how this group did over a period of time. Now, you can follow the principles of progressive disclosure and still be able to see information, trends, compare the metrics to last month, the previous year, or even go through global filters like the regions, the campaigns, the channels, and whatnot. So the theme here being that the information, the data that you have, and the questions that you ask of the data are similar over time. You can still get to the actual data. Let's say you have it in a giant spreadsheet, and you still want to have access to that. This method of consumption of data can still lead you to that giant spreadsheet, but you don't have to see it on first go and then churn through the numbers and try to find your numbers. So that's one example. Another example of a marketing campaign dashboard that we built for a healthcare client of ours. And the most interesting, the things that they were most interested about were the reach of their campaigns that they were running, the geographical relevance so that they can drill through, drive specific campaigns in specific areas and they kind of see the quality of the audience itself through this. And these were all very critical to how they were going to proliferate their products or think about marketing strategies for their products. I just wanted to show you that example there as well. Now to the next one, which is the self-service application. Now think about the questions again that you're asking of the data. If these questions need heavy parameterization, and I'll show you examples of that. If you're a BI developer, if you're a relational database developer, then you can think of this in terms of a SQL query. So if you need a lot of conditions applied to the query to generate the data set that you want to work with, then that means that this requires heavy parameterization. And let's say there is a set of users that need to be doing this for getting their sets of data, even though it's the data set, the larger data set that they're getting from is the same data set, then a self-service application is probably the way to go. Also keep in mind that if marketing analysts want to generate reports for their customers, and then they want to look at specifics of and then they want to customize the outputs of the report, then the self-service application, in our world, what we call the guided ad hoc, is a great way to go. So how do you build this guided ad hoc? It is a combination of designer framework with application studio, application studio type users, where you can go make some changes to the code as you need it, make some changes to the SQL query that you're writing, and you're building it once though. You don't have to keep changing the application. In this case, the application ownership is still with the group that actually builds it, whether it's the IT group or specific business groups. So what you're seeing here is an example of a hybrid ad hoc that we built out, and the marketing analyst wanted information about one organization and everything about that organization to be laid out in one dashboard. So this is what we built out for them. It still has the ability to be filtered by organization, by product, or the account executive that generated that particular customer. But it's kind of a snapshot information that tells you everything you need to know. So the customer calls and she's on the call with that customer. She has all the information she needs to make on-the-fly decisions. So what you see here on the left is a CLTV, a customer lifetime value, an immediate risk profile, and then there's also things like the next best product that you see here can be derived from the data science machine language process that Aidan showed, that you're operationalizing and bringing into your dashboard. So you're not just building these models and putting them in a silo, you're actually using them on your analytics layers. This is another example of a self-service application. This is not a marketing use case specifically, but the KPIs could change to serve your particular use case. What you see on the left is, I remember I talked about the SQL query, the relational database query that you're generating. These are all examples of what you can do to generate that query that gets you the data set that you need. The IT group, in this case, all they're doing is making the data object available to the developer group. And the developer group is now using this portal and then going in, and even the user group, not just the developer group, the user group is also kind of saying, these are my global filters, I'm picking the line of business, and then I'm actually customizing the fields that I need from the data object. And if I need to sort through those fields to generate that query, I'll kind of do that as well. And there's also ability to add operators. Let's say you wanted numbers greater than 20,000, and you're able to do that for specific fields. So you get a highly customized query running and getting your data set. Typically, this usually applies for larger data sets and larger groups wanting access to the same data set. Now, what's on the right here is the ability, once the query is generated and the data set is available to you, what happens is you're able to pick particular date ranges. You're able to say heading. Let's say you're sending this report to your customer. You're able to say customized heading, customized footing, and subgroupings, additions to particular rows, particular columns, and sending them subordinate information or sub information to particular customers. And then you can also pick your output format and say, I want to send this in an HTML, I want to send this in an Excel format, whatnot. So this, as you can see, is not really a cool looking application, but this is designed to be a much more powerful data application. So a lot of the people can come in, pick their parameters, and then also hit their save. And if they're going to be using similar parameters over time, they have the ability to save their the parameters that they picked, so that they can use it for the next time that they come in. And we found this to be a very useful tool, a very useful ad hoc type of tool that we were able to give to multiple customers of ours. The third type of application approach would be push reporting. So a lot of times what happens is, people log into WebFOCUS just to look at a dashboard or look at a set of reports and do nothing with it. So one is, you can reduce that layer of friction by having to log into WebFOCUS, and then they have login problems, they have timeout issues, just with any other tool. So what we want to try to do here is, WebFOCUS Report Caster is a fairly easy interface to use. A lot of you might already know that, but if the people are just consuming the information, and if they're not interacting with the information, if they're not doing anything to update information back to the database or generating the report of their own, then it's easy to build out a quick use case with Report Caster. Use dimensions to burst them, use dimensions to schedule reports, have row level authorization kind of defined in the metadata. You can do it in your data, or you can do it in the metadata layer as well. And usually we recommend that in one-off cases, you can do it with the WebFOCUS metadata. If it's a pattern, it's better to do it in your data layer itself. And once the master report is generated, you can also send portions of the master report based on single dimensions or multiple dimensions, what we call as the burst capability, and schedule the reports that way. This is not a pure application per se, but this is a vehicle in which you can reduce friction and reduce people using the tool itself. They're just looking at a report. Now build your own. This is the one where I talked about ownership. So for user-defined reports and applications, people don't know what they want. People want to generate reports as they go along. They just want the data objects to be available to them. In which case, the preparation in this case lies with the data objects. All you're doing is building out a reporting object based on the audience that's consuming them, based on the theme of the data itself, and based on other parameters like who can see what, row level security. So all you're doing is building that reporting objects, building the business view, and having that available to them. And the ownership for the IT group or the group that builds the data object ends there. The people that are building the applications, they own the applications, and they only come back to you only if there's a change in the data structure itself. So this is how we've kind of generated an alternative view of the master file, the metadata, and have that available to the user group. Again, the single most criteria there, important criteria there would be the theme of the audience. So what data can they see? And the act of building the reports itself is very straightforward. Like Aidan was showing you today, you can kind of manage your own real estate. You can kind of build simple reports. Then you can add style sheets to it if it's available in your organization.
Hey Dinesh, this is Tim. Hey, really quick, I think we're at the top of the hour. We'll continue, but I want to really quick, I've kind of been going through and did some random drawings for the actual things for people who do need to jump off here at the top of the hour, which is 1 minute away. So I'm just going to give you the list of names that we have, and then we can and Dinesh will let you continue on after that, and then we'll get into some more Q&A.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
The first one was Stephen Gray. Again, for any of you guys who would call out your names, you'll be getting more communication from us, so don't worry about having to reach out to us. We'll reach out to you and give you all the information on that. Andrew Indavina, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Tony He, Stephen Scarver, and Donald Madamo.
And
and congratulations,
just for clarity,
guys. Each one of those was a $50 Amazon card. Again, you'll be getting notification through email if I called your name out, and with more information on how to get that. So, Dinesh, I know you're almost done, so I just want to interrupt really quickly for anybody who had to jump.
Perfect. No problem. That sounds good. So I'll just end with this. I think it's important to. I'm still sharing screens, right?
Yep, you are.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it's important to know if the types of applications are operational in nature or analytical in nature. And as long as you're not mixing those use cases from operational, so the typical fallacy is people build operational reports for a very heavy analytical use case, and people build a dashboard type application for operational reports. You can't have it both ways. You can only have it one way. That's the moral of the story. So the idea of this was to give you a structure in terms of how you think about your applications and when you build what types of applications. And if there are questions around specifics of this, we can certainly have conversations. Back to you, Tim.
Yep, no, absolutely. And again, apologize to have it. I just want to make sure that we got the drawings out. So that kind of ends as far as the content side of things that we have. Let me see. I want to make sure that we were able to get to, and I know this new interface we used last time, and this time is not quite as handy as the one we had before. We're still looking at, different ones to use, but I know there's a chat. I'm not seeing anything else as far as QA, but if you have any questions, if nothing else, feel free to use the chat. We're more than glad to stick around and answer any questions you guys have. First of all, I do think we at least have a thumbs up, thumbs down, or at least a raise of hands. I want to ask a quick question, and I have more polls I can go through, but just a very simple thumbs up or down. Is this something that, for you guys that are still on here, feel like you could actually go back and use either within what you're doing or within your marketing organization with the guys that may be working with that? I'm just curious, how we try to pick a topic that was kind of generalized enough that everybody has, and everybody has marketing groups and sales group. So, and we're trying to kind of pick things like that's something that will kind of resonate with everybody. But just curious, and I don't know even how to see the results of that. Now, thumbs up, thumbs down, if we can kind of see that, or raise your hand if this is something you feel like you can use. All right. And I'm not seeing anything, but that's probably, I see 2 hands raised. Good, perfect. Like I said, hopefully this is something. Let me see. It's probably I should have put as a poll question to make it easier for people. I had one question. So one poll for the people who are left on here real quick, just for fun. I get this all the time when I'm shopping online, the next best product. I'm curious to hear people's thoughts when you guys see that for yourselves and the website that you're using, or the person who's trying to offer you something. How often are they actually right with something that you would be interested in? I have my thoughts on that, but I was curious to hear how effective some of these things are that people are doing. And of course, that's a little bit different from the stuff that Aiden showed, and I love the stuff that he was showing. Let me share results, because as you saw in all the stuff, customer lifetime value seems to be a very common one occasionally, and that's what I would guess myself. But customer lifetime value can often be a tool or a ratio that can be kind of bland if you don't have a lot of good variables that go into how that's done. And that's what I love about the stuff that Aiden showed was it adds a lot of depth to how you're actually showing customer lifetime value and the things that go into that, rather than just having a very bland version, equation of a few things here and there. It's actually adding some depth as far as segments and how the different things apply to that, because it can be a very not useful ratio if it's not done right. So I think a lot of this stuff can just, as we're doing with the data, it's just enhancing the ability to be able to actually use that, as long as some other things that we've looked at as well.
The other point I'll add there too is, I mean, the model is a living object. It's not static. As your, you know, seasonality changes across the year, as your customer base develops, the model can grow with it, right? You can feed additional data, you can retrain it to make sure it's up to date. So certainly it's dynamic from that sense as well, as that, you know, in keeping up with your customer base and their trends, because that's changing all the time. Of course, you know, what somebody's doing on Monday might even change by Friday. So that's another key element I just wanted to mention.
Yep. And one last, before we jump off here, one last poll I think would be interesting to get feedback on, because I can say there were some things I learned myself from going through this. I'll pop that up for whoever's left. But you know, as you guys were seeing this, were you guys aware of all the functionality that was kind of shown, especially in the demo part, as far as how do you actually bring that data in and enhance it with the SML and some of those things that you guys saw today? Is that something you guys were already familiar with? Just kind of curious to get people's thoughts, because again, I learned some new things when we were going through this as well. Hopefully I can close this now. All right. And I think the actual, all right, so I think this is, the question may have some different questions, but yes, I think hopefully most people are aware of it. If you've seen any roadmaps, then definitely it's something that you guys are probably seeing as far as the new things that are coming to the product, which I love how the product is growing. So, all right, very cool. I'm not seeing anything new down in the chat, so I'm gonna assume that means that there's not any questions. We're more than glad to hang around though. I know there's still some people still hanging out here. I'm more than glad if there are any questions to help answer that. If we don't see anything next minute or so, then we'll just let everybody kind of go back to their day. I appreciate everybody jumping on. If there are certain use cases like this that you would like to see that you think that would be kind of universal, please let us know. I think there's a survey at the end. I forget how I'm marking it to it. If not, feel free to just reply to any of us. And I think actually, I think some of the things that you actually got as promotional, you can even just reply to one of those with this would be good to hear. And if not, you'll be hearing from us anyway. So, you know, just reply to those. We'd love to see, you know, something on project management and how we manage projects throughout there, or something that may be very beneficial to you guys, and how you can use the tools, you know, mainly WebFOCUS in this case, to be able to do that. So, love to hear that, because we'll be looking for ideals here in another 2 or 3 months for the next one. All right. Well, I'm gonna say we're not getting any feedback in chat. Again, appreciate everybody joining today. Hopefully this again was fruitful for you guys, and look forward to talking again soon. And as always, reach out to us anytime if you have any questions or anything. But look forward to talking again in another 2 or 3 months. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Aiden, for jumping on with us.
Thank you all.
Thank you.